Our plan is to have quarterly general meetings so we can address critical needs of the business community. First, I have an honor and like to introduce the dignitaries in the room today. State Representative Dan Daley, State Representative Christine Hunschofsky, Coral Springs Mayor Scott Brook, Coconut Creek Mayor Becky Tooley, Parkland Mayor Rich Walker, Coral Springs Commissioner Nancy Mateer, Coral Springs Commissioner Sandra Welch, Coconut Creek Commissioner Sandra Welch, Coconut Creek Commissioner Josh Rydell, I'm seeing who's here, Coconut Creek Commissioner Jackie Raley, Coconut Creek City Manager Karen Brooks, Coral Springs Deputy City Manager Melissa Heller. I hope I got everybody and didn't miss everybody. And now I have the distinct honor to introduce the CEO of the Coral Springs Coconut Creek Regional Chamber, the one, the only, Cindy Brief. Cindy?
Welcome, everybody. I'm so happy to have this meeting today and that we could join together and have a good conversation about some of the issues we're facing. The Chamber is the voice of business, the engine for economic growth, and a champion for a thriving community. We are a pro-business, nonpartisan organization seeking to advance business interests in our community. If you are interested in being a part of the Government and Community Relations Committee, please share your information in the chat. Our immediate goal for this committee is to create a legislative response team that can quickly respond to important legislative issues by taking action. The action may be sending emails to elected officials, attending a commission meeting, or reaching out to elected officials. The Chamber wants to count on you to get involved and join us to be the voice of business. Today's meeting is about a challenge that many of our businesses have been having, and that is finding employees to work for them, finding qualified employees, and the lack of qualified employees in skilled trades. Actually, I was just watching the Today Show this morning, and they were doing a segment about this, that many of the summer hotels and amusement parks that are opening cannot find any employees right now. So there was a whole story about that this morning. So we're going to have 3 speakers today that will provide us with some information and input on how we as the Chamber and we as the Northwest Broward community can tackle this issue together. So I'm honored that we have the speakers that we have today, which is Representative Christine Hunschofsky, who is also the former mayor of Parkland, Representative Dan Daley, who is also a former commissioner and vice mayor and whatever for Coral Springs for many years. And for another perspective, we have Dr. Mildred Coyne, Senior Vice President for Workforce Education and Information for Broward College. Dr. Coyne led a comprehensive study on declines in community college students and the impact on workforce, including solutions to supply workforce talent. After all the speakers have an opportunity to share with the group, we will open it up for questions. So in the interest of time, and I'm just saying this because we have a lot of politicians in the room, each speaker will have a max of 7 minutes. And keep an eye on Julie's Carrington's screen, because when you have like 1 minute left, her screen will go yellow. And then when you're done, it's going to be red, okay? So let's start out with Representative Hunschofsky.
Good morning, everybody. I'm very excited to be home again, and I'm very excited to see so many wonderful, familiar faces. We had an incredibly interesting legislative session. For those of you who may not know, I serve on the Education and Workforce Committee, and we actually talked a lot about workforce development and making sure that our young people have the skills necessary, that there are many alternative paths to careers, not just you have to go to high school and you have to graduate college and then you're coming out with, maybe not the job opportunities you thought you would have. So there's actually a lot of discussion on that. I'm going to put in the chat information on HB 1505 and 1507 that passed in the House and in the Senate that are actually addressing those concerns, including having an Office of Reimagining Education and Career Help. So the whole goal is to make sure that high school students at an early age are aware of the opportunities that are out there, that there's better coordination among all the agencies that are providing workforce training and career training. And so the system has seemed to be very not as coordinated as it could be, not intervening early enough at times with students to let them know of what their options are and where their talents may lead them. And so I think the idea behind this was to increase that coordination, do a better job of sharing information, and identifying the skills that are needed, so that not only will there be a skilled workforce for the businesses, but that every young person and people who are, getting older and maybe, deciding to change careers or whatever, that everybody is going to have different opportunities and access to opportunities, and be aware of all the opportunities and careers that are out there. Additionally, some of the business friendly things that passed, one of them was Senate Bill 50, and that was making sure that internet sales tax was going to be collected from everybody, and not just, so the internet sales tax always existed, but the burden of the collection, if you didn't have a physical facility in the state of Florida, the burden on collection was on the consumer. And now it's an equal footing, so that anybody who's selling in Florida, whether on the internet or in a brick and mortar building, that sales tax needs to be collected. And money from that is used to not increase the unemployment tax on businesses. And then beyond that, it's once they hit, I think it's like 4 billion or something, then it will go toward reducing the commercial real estate sales tax. So a lot of the themes this session were really about supporting businesses, and also supporting having a workforce, because you can't expect businesses to thrive and also expect new businesses to come to the state of Florida if you're not providing the environment in which they can thrive. And one of those main points is the workforce. And I will leave it at that, but I will put the information in the chat so you have it. And I'm happy to answer any questions afterwards.
Okay, so now we're going to go to Representative Daley.
Good morning, everybody, and I echo what Representative Hunschofsky said in the beginning. I know we're not saying this to blow smoke, but like, this is a really cool group, and it's a group of people that we've known a really long time. So it's good to see all of you, and it's good to see some friendly faces after what was a very challenging legislative session. And I say challenging because legislative session on its own, for those of you who have traveled with the chamber or other groups up to Tallahassee in the past, know that it's very fast paced, right? Everything moves at 600 miles an hour. 1 minute a bill is dead. Next thing you know, it's headed to the floor. Next thing it's dead again, right? And so you're always trying to follow what's going on and what's moving, what's being amended and how it's going. and this session really was quite different because you still had that kind of maneuvering going on. But the Capitol was, for all intents and purposes, closed, right? So other than, you would normally have a flood of people every single day coming in to meet with you in person, and events to go to, and rallies, and for realtors, the realtors big block party, and all this other stuff. There's all this stuff going on, and particularly for people like Representative Hunschofsky and I, who are in the minority, that kind of gives us life, right? Because a lot of times there are troublesome bills moving their way through the process, or our bills aren't moving, or our funding requests aren't getting heard, or maybe they do and then they're not, right? So session can be very frustrating, particularly if you're in the minority. And what gives us life are all those people and all those events. And clearly because of COVID, that didn't happen, right? So it was a struggle. And it's really been interesting to see how the session kind of went due to COVID. I understand that the Capitol will be reopened this Friday, just in time for our special session on gaming, which I'm happy to touch on a little bit, because obviously with the proximity to the Coconut Creek Casino, that will have some impact on our area if the compact is ratified and they're able to get the expansion that they've sought. But just to talk specifically, and I won't touch on the things that Rep. Hunschofsky touched on. I look to her. I look to Chairman Renee Placencia and a couple of others in Tallahassee when it comes to workforce development, I served on Renee's committee last year. They do a lot of good work to try and like Representative Hunschofsky said, right? The focus doesn't always have to be college. It should be career readiness. It should be making sure that our workforce can sustain our economy and the businesses that thrive in Florida. And so there's a lot of work kind of going in that direction. I know a big chunk of what we're going to talk about today relates to likely the reemployment system and how that may, at least from your perspective, be impacting the ability to hire qualified individuals, right? I've heard stories from both the city of Coral Springs and otherwise of people kind of putting in an application, getting set up for an interview and then not showing up for the interview, right? Because, hey, maybe it's easier for them to continue on unemployment. And while that's unfortunate, I do think that that's the minority of people, right? I think most people that need the benefits take advantage of the benefits. Maybe they got into hard times because of COVID or otherwise, and they're not just kind of milking the system, right? I inherently believe that people are good. So I'm interested to hear kind of what you're seeing. And that's my main reason for being here today, folks, is to hear from you, right? And to hear firsthand what you're experiencing as the drivers of business in our community. I did want to touch on, you're probably familiar, we did pass some degree of COVID liability protection. So as long as businesses were taking reasonable steps based on some sort of guidance, government guidance, when it came to preventing folks from getting COVID, there is some liability protection there, which I'm sure Ron knows much better than I do. So that's in place moving forward. I did want to touch on as well I actually want to back up for 1 second to the reemployment system. There haven't been any changes. So we didn't make, at least to my knowledge, any changes to the reemployment system. There was a move in the Senate to increase the benefits. The House didn't have, the House leadership didn't have any agreement on that. So I don't think that actually moved through. And then I did want to touch on one thing that you may not be aware of. It was included in this year's tax package that was passed, a bill that I filed last year and filed again this year with Senator Chevron Jones, is going to establish, once it's signed into a law, the Florida Internship Tax Credit Program. So for businesses who hire and pay their interns, you're eligible for a corporate income tax credit up to $10,000. So the whole crux of this is to give those of you that have known me a long time, a big fan of internship programs and trying to get internships for local students to connect them with local businesses, right? In hopes that not only are you giving them an opportunity to learn that career field, but you're building a relationship, right? So at the end of that internship opportunity, maybe you say, hey, look, I'd love to have you full time, right? I'd love that when you graduate college or when you graduate from trade school, I'd love to have you come on full time. So to kind of help give kids who may not otherwise have the opportunity because they can't afford to take an unpaid internship, we've established this internship tax credit, which again gives a tax credit to a business who hires and pays their interns. So, with that, I still think there's a ton of work to be done in the space, particularly as it relates to workforce development. And look, it's always changing, right? The ball is always moving as we evolve as a society and as a state and as an economy. There are different things that we need to address. And so I think the main reason that we're here, at least for my part, is to listen and to hear directly from you all. So with that, I'll be quiet and drink my coffee. But good to be with all of you, and thank you all for tuning in.
Wow, I'm shocked. Okay, Dr. Coyne, can you give us a little update?
I can, and I have a presentation I'm going to fly through. I'm going to go really quickly. And so I wanted to kind of preface some of this and appreciate all of the our representatives' perspective, and really excited about the internship corporate tax credit. I think that's going to go a long way for workforce development in our state. So I'm really excited about that. I really wanted to help you see a different perspective perhaps and understand what's really happening in our enrollment landscape across the United States, but mostly here in Broward, obviously. So these are some of the headlines that you'll see as these headlines demonstrate what is really emerged as a trend of lost bandwidth, if you will. So while we have employers today that are, as you were talking about earlier this morning, really struggling to find talent for their existing immediate workforce need, consider the long-term impact on our economic recovery based on enrollment trends in higher education, not just bachelor's degree programs, short-term certificate and training, all across the higher education space. We're seeing a decline or a stop out, if you will, from our from those that need an education to really align to the marketplace. So what we could see, what we know also happened and is true from the pandemic is that considering that with individual employee perspective, 86% of the US jobs that were vulnerable to pay cuts, lost hours, and layoffs are held by workers earning less than $40,000 a year. These tend to be less educated workers disproportionately work in these occupations. In contrast, only 13% of those paying between $40,000 and $70,000 a year were vulnerable to layoffs, furloughs, and reduced hours. So one of the things that we're seeing is that as we continue to rebound from the pandemic, there's more and more of our lower educated citizenry being left in the margins and not being able to access or not accessing the jobs that they need to really rebound our full economy. So this chart further exemplifies, which is specific to Broward County, shows that high wage jobs have increased and in employment throughout the pandemic in Broward County, while middle and low wage jobs have decreased. So we're really concerned about our disproportionate distribution nationally and thinking about the outcomes that we just discussed and what that could mean for individuals and their families. So on the left side of your screen, you see the significantly higher layoffs for Black and Latinos. And on the right side of your screen, you see that for many reasons, Black and Latinos are changing or canceling altogether their education plans. And this may be because of family obligations and responsibilities, in children's at home, homeschooling. There's many, many reasons for this, but this is a real concern. And now, if you look at it by age, 2/3 of young adults are reporting that they changed or canceled their education plans. A generation is losing out on the lifetime benefits of post-secondary education we just spoke about. So the notion of a gap year doesn't exist for these students. If they don't attend now, life will happen, because it's not just our more affluent kids that are saying, okay, I have some dual enrollment credit. I'm just going to say, I don't want to go remote or online, so I'm going to jump into college in a year after my high school graduation. It's many of our low income and minority students that have taken this pause too. And we know from how life happens, it's very difficult to re-engage in the education system. So here's been the specific impact of Broward College. I have many more data points that I could share with you, but I'm really trying to be brief. So at Broward College, you can see that we've had a decline of 10,688 student headcount decline from the beginning of the pandemic, of which 40% are low-income students, 23% would have been first time in college, and 28% are Black and 36% are Latinx. But to even drill down deeper into that, we've taken a look by city, and you can see here Coral Springs is down here, but this is at the bottom of the top 10 cities affected by the lower enrollment trends from your cities. So as you can see from both the national and local levels, if these enrollment trends continue, we can anticipate more Broward County residents with lower education attainment levels and lower employability skills. So this to us is a crisis in the making. And it's not just that it's an enrollment impact at Broward College, it's an economic impact for our entire community and how we address the workforce supply that our community needs as we want to continue to grow and robustly recover from the economic downturn. So of course, Broward College offers many solutions, but we need your help in making sure that our constituency, the community, knows that we are here and that you all collectively are here to support them and help them and move forward in their post-secondary attainment goals. So just as a refresher, I wanted to make sure that you understand that Broward College offers certificates that are 1 year or less, apprenticeship programs. Yes, we have several IT apprenticeship programs. We partner with the tech colleges to enroll apprentices in articulating their degrees. We offer about 54 different associate in science degrees that are 2-year workforce degrees. Associate of Arts, which is our one transfer degree that bridges the gap to bachelor's degree. And we also offer 13 bachelor's degrees that are workforce related and directly tied to the marketplace. But then we also offer alternative training solutions, such as continuing education or non-credit courses, many leading to nationally recognized industry credentials and licensure. In addition, we accelerate people with these credentials into our degree programs so that we can continue, and we also evaluate prior work experience to give them minimum time to their degree or their attainment to align to the market. So as another solution in our toolbox, we have rapid credentials. And this is through a partnership with the Florida Department of Education from the Governor's CARES funds in the first round. We are offering exciting opportunities to help the community enroll in-demand, high-quality workforce programs quickly and move quickly in as little as 8 weeks and gain the critical skills needed in essential emerging careers. These are free and offer zero tuition, zero fees or costs, and they can advance into associate degrees and continue education into Broward College, into training degrees at our school. So, but in addition to this, on our Broward Up zip code, so we have identified 6 zip codes with the highest unemployment, lowest education attainment level, even prior to the pandemic, and partnering with great agencies and municipalities to make sure that we could be proximate to those residents and offer them free training. Florida Power and Light has also provided us resources so that we can make sure that those community members have free laptops as they're pursuing these rapid credentials. Sorry, I am a fast talker, but so as an extension of our business services model, we've formed Broward Up to provide these free skills and courses in those 6 zip codes. And since our inception, we've provided over 2,600 residents with opportunities to re-engage or engage for the first time or retool for a different occupation in multiple different areas, including these that are listed here. So we have healthcare online options. We have simple workshops to get people started and other remote trainings, as you can see, Amazon cloud computing, introduction to information technology. There's a lot of different opportunity, and these again are free. These are free for the Broward Up communities, and I kind of went too fast over the rapid credentials slide. I'm going to go back there, because what we have in rapid credentials that are things like we have in 7 or 8 different pathways. We have accounting technology or entrepreneurship, child care center management, infant and toddler specialization, marine electrician, and airframe and power plant generalist industry certification. Public safety, we have homeland security certification. We have computer programming and specialists, information technology, a wide plethora of engagement opportunities that aren't only degrees, but yet we're still seeing people that are struggling to find their way to us. And so what this really, a message I think for all of us is, how can we collectively as a community have impact on our residents to help motivate them? We've solved for some of the financial challenges. So if you're talking to your network and you're hearing people say, but I just can't afford it, I can't go back, talk to us. Let us come out and engage with your network and your community and have a deeper conversation, because we have great relationships with CareerSource Broward. With many of these programs that I've talked about are eligible for funding. If the community member is eligible for those resources, we can directly tie them to $12,500 in their individual training account through CareerSource Broward. We have scholarships. We have free opportunities, like I talked about, through Rapid Credentials and Broward Up. And so that really shouldn't be a reason why people stop. But let us, you see here that offer internships too to your from your place of work, because that can be the difference between someone learning a skill, getting a first time in workplace experience, and then bridging into that full-time job. We offer these next level webinars that you can share with your community about learning deeply what's available at Broward College. What I covered was just a rapid fire on what we have to offer, but these next level webinars go through in detail what's available and what people can and how people can engage. And they're offered live on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 12 with recruiters and advisors on standby. We also have them just in time so people can listen to them. They're recorded. But really, I think that's my message for today. And I have much more information that we can share on a deeper level if we wanted to talk really about that lost bandwidth. But if we join forces, I believe we can all help avert this crisis, recover our lost bandwidth, and grow a more vibrant and equitable Broward County economy.
Thank you very much, Dr. Coyne. So we appreciate the update from everyone, but we wanted to kind of give some time for people to ask questions. I guess what I'm seeing is we have a current crisis, because, we have people who are, not working for whatever reason. And our businesses currently are really, struggling. And we're on the way to a future crisis. So I just, want to keep that in mind. And, we got a lot of smart people here. We'd love for you to ask questions. Just keep it brief because we have a number of people in the room. And raise your hand and we'll call on you. Andy Caston.
Good morning, everybody. So really glad to see you all, but I'd rather see you in person. So one of the biggest issues I think is going to be, or the biggest challenges, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but let's talk about the service industry, because Florida is comprised of a humongous amount of service industry, restaurant workers, hotel workers, and the like. And that is maybe our number one industry in Florida, right? And there is a disruption in employment in those areas, especially. And typically those are lower paying jobs. So I don't have the answer, but that's a huge challenge for us because, again, we are a travel destination. So go figure that one out. And, maybe that'll be helpful. Not everybody can have a high level paying job, but, service industry jobs are readily available right now. But I talk to my friends that have restaurants and stuff, and they can't get anybody to work.
Yeah, this is across the board, Andy. Everybody I talk to is saying
Hospitality is.
Yeah, and I think part of the issue is, when everything shut down because of COVID, those jobs were gone. And I think several people, I've spoken to industries where they're actually, a lot of people who were previously in the service industry are now going through retraining into other areas that they feel won't be so negatively impacted in future crises or whatever. And they've taken this opportunity, the time they've been at home to, change their career direction. And I think that's going to be a difficult thing to really tackle, because you're right. The service industry is hurting and they're having trouble hiring people. And a lot of people who are in that industry have decided they don't want to take that risk again.
And I'll share, I also serve on the Career Source Broward board. And as a board member, we talk about all these workforce development issues, as you would imagine. And we formed the Career Source Broward board formed a subgroup to really look at the hospitality industry service sector and have a small focus group of employers that are coming in, and we're asking questions. We're delving into what are the challenges that they're experiencing, and they are widespread. There's a lot. A lot of them are reporting that they have interviews lined up, and they've never seen a no-show for interview rate like they're seeing now too, where people aren't even coming in for the interview. We've talked to them and offered suggestions. Are you offering sign-on bonuses? What about alternate work schedules? The college is doing fairs, specifically job fairs for the hospitality sector, because we do have students, we still have 60,000 students at Broward College that we can help them find a path in. And the industry is starting to change and look at how they can offer operating our work hours differently for, say, students or parents that have kids at home, and different types of supports that they're going to have to. They're disrupted. They are the disproportionate impact. I didn't show you this slide on businesses. Is the highest portion of that is accommodations and food services across the country. And so, it's a massive disruption. We've been disrupted as an entity. Higher education, we now no longer are doing. It's not all about only face-to-face. It's about all the different service models that we can deliver, so that we can make sure that people have access. So it is a disruption that we're still struggling through.
Thank you. Mayor Tooley, you had your hand up. I'll unmute Mayor Tooley.
I saw part of this presentation through the Broward League of Cities, and I wonder if you could send me, and I wrote you a chat, the figures for Coconut Creek. I know you had the 10 lowest, but I'd like to see where we are at.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. I will, I did see that in the chat and I will get that to you.
Thank you very much.
And Commissioner Rayler.
Hi, good morning. I think we need to target, this is how I feel anyway, that we have been experiencing this shortage of employment available adults. If we go into and target the high school parents, college parents, they're young today. The parents are young and they're re-identifying themselves, so to speak, in their careers and industry. If we make this information available to them, target them, they'll influence their children. They feel better about themselves. They'll drive their children to excel. I think the information is there, but not everyone is so willing to go out there and dig it up. So I think we, as representatives of the people, need to go out there and basically spoon feed it to them. I think that might help, just to get the information out there that Broward offers all these courses and free and incentives. And if employers start offering incentives as well, we might be able to get them out of the shell. I mean, this is like the first, we're all now entering into a new realm, and it's like almost the first day of school. Remember that feeling when we were kids and it was the first day of school in September? That's basically how we're coming out of COVID. Yeah. So
Jamie from Career Source.
Good morning, everyone. This is something that we're dealing every day, that problematic. Even Career Source struggling as well to find candidates and send them to employers. But we're here to find a solution. Basically, I feel that we need to work a little bit more, maybe more, the people that doesn't know who Career Source is, just to know who we are, what we do. We work with the internship programs that we can help new candidates, especially when they don't have any skills. We can retrain them and we can send it over. We pay for that service. So basically the employer be able to work with somebody, let's say for free. So it's a big help. It's a lot of saving money there, as well as the OJT on the job training. They will receive 75% reimbursement for whatever the expenses are. Also, we do have a youth program. In the beginning, I believe was done, or I don't know, it was maybe Christine, they mentioned about the youth. So basically, we also help the youth, those candidates from 15 to 18 years old, to be able to learn and get a new set of skills so they can be able to move forward. So problematic is there. We definitely need to come up with different ideas to resolve that issue, but at least I can say that Career Source is here on the community helping, and with some opportunities available for employers and job seekers as well. And if someone doesn't know, they can reach me at any time. Or if we want to work together, we'd find more solutions or any way that we can work together. And that can be really, really helpful. That's all I have.
Thank you. John Biggie.
Good morning, everybody. John Biggie, JBI. I'm a landlord and we have approximately 70 tenants across all aspects of the economy in Broward County. And they employ collectively hundreds and hundreds of people. And I'm gonna be real blunt. There are people who want to work and there are people who have to work. And right now people are being paid to stay home, and you're not going to be able to get those people. You have named dozens of ways for people to get employed, to get educated, to go out there and find a job. Anybody with a heartbeat can get a job right now for far more than they were making before the pandemic. And they don't want to because they don't have to. They're being paid to stay at home. There's no other way to put it. You need to stop incentivizing people to not work. And that's what I have to say about it.
Sounds like a check and balance problem, John.
Yeah, it's a problem. You can't do that to people.
I agree. But there are a lot of reasons, there are other reasons. I mean, there are a lot of moms that, were home. There are other issues, but I totally understand what you're saying, John. And that's what I'm hearing from many businesses. And I mean, if you look at it from that perspective, the unemployment is going to last till September. So I just don't know how we change that right now. I don't know if anybody has, any suggestions of what we could do. I know restaurants are paying more than they paid before. I've heard all of that. By the way, Commissioner Welch, I know you've been asking some questions in the chat. So do you want to ask some questions? Because I didn't see all of that.
Hey, good morning. No, I was communicating with Dr. Coyne and Representative Daley, and they both responded, but to Dr. Coyne, to Mayor Tooley's point, she did a great job at the Broward League of Cities, and I'm just proud that you brought her here along with our two fantastic representatives to talk about what's new and what we need to know for our businesses. So, but I just asked her, they talked about banners promoting all of these free initiatives for students of all levels. So I just said, we have a campus here in our city, if we could get some of that signage up, because there's a lot of traffic that comes up and down Coconut Creek Parkway. But great job. Thank you, Cindy, and all.
Do we have any other questions? Mike Del Pozo.
Yes, I have a question, and I don't want it to sound like I'm minimizing it, but could this just be a bump in the road with the people not coming back to work? I own an industry, I own a business where I have contact with a lot of mom and pop little places out there, about 60 of them. They lost a lot of employees, a lot of businesses won't be coming back, but they're starting to see a trend now. Now that people are getting vaccinated and more people are starting to go out back into the workforce, they're starting to see more people applying for their old jobs back. Is this a trend that some of you leaders are seeing now? I mean, I see it out in the street every day where the owners were working behind the counter cooking burgers, and now some of the employees are starting to come back slowly because of everybody starting to get vaccinated. Could that be the trend now? I mean, by September, when unemployment runs out, people are going to start coming back to the workforce? Maybe the doctor can answer this.
Well, I mean, I think that's a really good that's a good starting place. I haven't seen it come across as any kind of economic study that's showing it rebounding completely yet, but that's a good sign. We also are seeing an improvement in our enrollment, which also means people are, more comfortable going, the vaccination is making more people more comfortable coming back into what they were doing before. And so we're hopeful that there is going to be a rebound and certainly in enrollment with people getting skilled so that they can land those jobs.
If I could just add on to that. Yeah, I think that people getting vaccinated and feeling safer from a health standpoint out in public, in office buildings, makes a big difference. I think a new challenge that's going to happen, I spoke to a business owner the other day, has 1,600 employees. And many of the employees, a majority of the employees don't want to get vaccinated. And so now the new challenge is, how are we educating people and, making sure that you saw also the cruise lines are having an issue with the vaccine passports being banned. We all remember the images of the ships offshore and people stranded on them and the COVID outbreaks. So it's also going to be, what can businesses do and what can industries do to make people feel safe in that environment? And that is also going to have a big impact on the rebound.
If I can weigh in, and I would echo what Rep. Hunschofsky said, but I want to take it a step further too. So just to clarify, so you may have seen the other day, the governor put out an executive order that basically did away, suspended any local any local restrictions, whether it was a mask mandate or anything like that. That, just to be very clear, that does not apply to a private business. So if you have somebody come into your business and you still want folks to wear masks, as you probably should, not to lecture, you can do that, and you can require them to wear masks. So that order does not pertain to you. If somebody tells you, oh, well, the governor said I don't have to anymore. No, the governor said that cities and counties cannot impose restrictions, you can still do that as a private business owner. I did want to touch on one thing, and you know, look, to the last question that was posed, Mike. Yes, I do think, just much like the doctor and Rep. Hunschofsky, I do think you're starting to see, as people become more comfortable, you're seeing people start to come back out to the workforce. Obviously, you do have these issues, right, that we touched on earlier. I've had a number of people come to me and say, hey, the example I gave earlier, right? Applied for the job. Sorry about that, guys. That's what happens when my internet's down and I have to do it over my phone and I get a phone call. So they'll apply for the job and then they won't show up for the interview, but it allows them to tell DEO, once that work search requirement goes back into effect, that they've been looking for work, right? I've also heard cases, and this is where I want, you know, we need you all to take the affirmative step. I've heard cases where somebody will reach out and say, hey, I'll come work for you, but I want you to pay me under the table so that I can continue to collect unemployment. That's an issue that we need you all to report. So whether it's to the Attorney General's office or to DEO itself, the Department of Economic Opportunity, who controls the unemployment system or reemployment system, you've got to report those cases, because those are the folks, those are the bad actors, right? Who are trying to take advantage of the system, who are trying to double dip, and they make it worse for everybody else. So as you have that happen, and if you don't know who to contact me, contact Rep. Hunschofsky. We can get to the right person, because obviously those are the bad actors that are taking advantage of the system, and again, making it worse for everybody. So I do think, Mike, to your original question, I do think you're starting to see it kind of creep back up. I mean, just look out there as you're going to stores and restaurants and businesses. You are starting to see places start to, you know, open back up, maybe get a little bit more crowded. And I think that's a lot to do with the comfort that they have in the vaccine and the mask and everything else. And just know that you can still do a lot as a small business in that space.
Thank you, Dan. Irma.
Hi, everybody. So I work with employers, and in reference to the people getting paid under the table, I have property management companies, I have a landscaping company, and this landscaping company is having problems because its competitors are hiring illegal people under the table and such. So one of my questions is, what's being done to audit these companies to make sure they're not doing it? And, you know, there are a lot of people who just don't want to get out of their pajamas, right? Whether they're collecting money or not, they need to get out of their pajamas and go back to work. So I'd like to know if there's any data. I'm a data person. So what type of surveys or whatever can we do to see why people aren't working? Because there's a lot of jobs. I forget who said it, but there's a ton of jobs out there. People who say they're unemployed. And if it's because of kids not being in school, I can understand that, but I think that's pretty much resolved now. But what is the root cause of these problems? Because we'll never fix it unless we know what the root problem is. So if there's any of these smaller impact sessions that you're working on, I do work with employers, so I might be able to help in those groups. Let me know. I'd be happy to jump in. Thanks.
Does anybody else have any questions, comments, any ideas for any solutions? I'm looking. So yeah, this is a tough problem. Actually, and what I think it was Mike said, I actually went to Big Bear for lunch last week, and the owners, one was in the kitchen and one was serving the owners. So you know, this is what's happening. I would love if we could come up with any ideas. I do want to mention one thing. What the chamber is doing is we are working on an internship. We've been working with Broward College with Enron. I don't know if Enron is on here, but we've been working with Broward College, and what we're doing, we have put out an email to businesses and said, if you need help, you know, send us what you're looking for, and we'll put you together with Broward College and try to, you know, help you out. So that's, you know, something I feel we could do that is at least proactive to help some of our businesses. So we are doing that. And also I have a number of resumes that people had sent to me that, so if you are, any of you looking for an intern, you know, that for the summer, you know, let me know and I could forward that information to you as well. We also have DECA students from our high schools that look for summer internships. So, just pass this information on to the businesses that, if you can't find someone, at least, you could get an intern for now, and that might help you through some time. So I just wanted to let you know about that. Beverly.
Yes, I had a question for the panel. There's been a lot of talk at the national level about raising the minimum wage. And I guess there's been talk even at the state level. I know companies like Costco have just raised their standard wage across the board. Some other companies have been leaders in that. I'm just wondering to the panel if they think that, would help this situation, or if, like, Irma said, people are just comfortable in their pajamas, or people are just not wanting to get out there. So just curious about your thoughts on the minimum wage.
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump in. So the minimum wage was voted on and passed by the voters of the state of Florida, and it's a staggered increase. So at the end, it's going to be $10 an hour in September, by September 30th of this year, and then increase $1 every year going through September 30th, 2026. So that was voted on by the voters of the state of Florida. And I think it will present some challenges for certain industries.
And also certain constituencies within our community. So, I talked a little bit about that. The higher wage jobs are rebounding pretty nicely in Broward County, but then the low and middle wage jobs are not. And so we're really have to be mindful of the folks that are going to be in those $10 to $15 an hour minimum wage jobs, and then how that pushes people farther and farther in the margins and grows that inequity in opportunity for large portions of our community.
Who's right? Irma.
So the question was, what should we do with minimum wage? And I think it's already determined, but just to answer that question, places like Costco, who have a very high company culture, there's a lot of development that companies need on how to be able to raise pay rates and raise the value of their services so that they get business. It's very dangerous, I think, to mandate too high of minimum wage. It's just going to be too challenging for many companies, but that's where competition comes in. And so we compete for people once we can get people out of their pajamas. I hate to keep saying it, but we compete for people, and it's how well do we take care of those people? How well do we take care of the customers? So that determines what we could pay people and the types of businesses that we have. So I would be very cautious about mandating too high of minimum wages.
Safia, I think you had a question.
Hi, how you doing? Yeah, so I kind of had a similar question to what Irma was saying, because the Broward College representative went over a lot of numbers, and I was just wondering if there's been any survey as to why the students are not coming back, because that might be able to help figure out what would get them back. If we could figure out why they were dropping out in the first place. And similarly, unemployment office, I mean, they're the ones sending out the checks to the people who are unemployed. So if there would be a way for them to be able to find out why people are not being able to get a job, or what it is. I know a couple of people who are out of a job, but it's because they had higher level jobs and got laid off. And so they're trying to find a job that will pay them what they were being paid before, and they haven't been able to do that yet. So I mean, yes, there are some people who I think like to be in their pajamas, but I do think that people are out there trying to get a job, and maybe they just haven't been able to find one that fits what their expectations are as well. So that's my comment.
Dr. Coyne, do you want to respond?
Well, we have a lot of information. Thanks, Cindy. Sorry. We do have a lot of information from our students that are with us. Why are you, like what was the determining factor to keep you here? And a lot of the reasons why there is hesitancy that we've learned is because of the modality. So a lot of people that did not feel comfortable or competent to do fully online classes, or we have different modalities now. We have remote where you're doing a Zoom, it's still at your scheduled time. But we also have evidence that shows that's been really popular too, and those new modalities we have increased satisfaction from other students. So it's really a hard balance because it's different for every person or their family circumstances. If their parents are, if they're a sibling in a multi-sibling family and they need to help with the children at home, then that's a reason to not go. So there's so many different reasons across the board, or a parent is sick, or different things like that. So it isn't one thing that we've seen it, but it's just across the board and across the country. This huge bleed off of those that are pursuing post-secondary or stopping or changing plans.
Thank you. I want to see if anybody else has any questions. We have a lot of smart people here, and I'd love to. I like to try to help find some solutions. I know it's not possible in one meeting, and this is something that's going to be something the chamber is going to be working on for a long time. But if anybody has any ideas, suggestions, any thoughts, we have some smart people here. Ken Cutler, I was looking at you.
I saw you looking at me.
You did?
Yes. Listen, our community has a lot of interconnectivity, and the chamber's done a really great job of being sort of the hub of a lot of that interconnectivity. So there should be opportunities for all of us to help each other along the way, where somebody needs employment or somebody needs employees, to be able to have that interconnectivity work for us in at least in our community. I don't know how to fix this problem on a larger scale, statewide or nationally, but certainly locally, the fact that we're talking about it and the fact that we're all connected in this way, we should be helping each other with those problems.
I agree. Thank you, Commissioner Cutler.
And I can provide you all with a lot of information to share so that you don't have, you have good information to push out to your networks about what's available to upskill and retool and to get connected. I mean, CareerSource Broward has vast resources to help people connect and engage, even if they don't want to go into the same field that they were in. I mean, if you were in hospitality, and we've seen this, we actually targeted a lot of promotional materials out to hospitality employees that were furloughed or laid off in the early stages of the pandemic, to use this time to upskill and retool and go into any one of these healthcare fields or into the digital space with technology. So, there's a lot of changing opportunities if people are concerned about going back to their old position or opportunities and they want to explore something new. And you'll have resources to share.
I think that's that very good point. And Broward College has so many resources, just like that rapid credential program that we were talking about, and it's free. So I think the thing is, if we get the word out, I know we sent out the flyer, to our members and, to our database, to over 5,000 people, but there are many things we can do and try to be the vehicles to get this information out there. I think that's one thing we can all do together. Irma?
Another idea, a lot of employers should revisit their criteria. I mean, I have terminated master's degree and even one PhD. The education is not always the key for being very successful in their role. So revisit the criteria, make sure you're not looking for something you don't need. If you need it, you need it. But if you don't, really back up and say, what are the skills I need, and do these people have them?
Mayor Walker, do you want to say anything? Do you have any comments?
No, I mean, I'm seeing the same thing that everybody else is seeing, and it's difficult to get employees. And, unfortunately, a lot of people, certainly in hospitality, And even in manufacturing and the construction business, you're able to collect unemployment and maybe do side jobs or work. So a lot of people are hesitant to get back into the workforce. And it's unfortunate that people do take advantage of the system, and there's not enough people who are speaking up saying, you know, these people are doing things on the side, or, you know, they're doing those types of different things. So it is tough with the unemployment system now. There are, I believe, more people taking advantage of the system than we're willing to accept.
Okay. Mayor Tully, you want to say anything?
I think the best thing is that we all have to work together, put it on our social media page. You know, I have heard a lot of people say, why should I work? Because I'm making more getting unemployment. So I'm not going to go back to work until I have to. And that's kind of a sad situation. But I think that all of us working together can help our county and our cities.
I agree. And it's great that we have representation from, you know, Coral Springs, from Coconut Creek and Parkland here, because we are together, the North Broward community, and we need to work together. So I appreciate all of you being here today. Is there any other questions that you have? We have 2 minutes left. I saw Shirley. Okay, go ahead, Cheryl.
Just want to remind everybody, or let everybody know, we do have an education committee meeting coming up on May the 20th at 3:30. It will be a Zoom meeting, and it is with all our 7 high schools, which is 5 high schools in Coral Springs and 2 in Parkland. I mean, Coconut Creek, Parkland too. But we are going to go, I mean, everyone's more than welcome. I took a bunch of notes to disseminate a lot of this information to my DECA teachers, my BPA teachers, but anyone is more than welcome to come to that meeting and Zoom with that meeting and share all this wonderful information, because it was a wealth of information today to help our students achieve what they're looking to do. So just wanted to send that out there.
And I also wanted to tell everybody that our legislative update, so you'll get to see Representative Hunschofsky and Representative Daley again when we do our chamber legislative update, which is going to be on June 15th, which now I'm so glad I pushed it off, because you are going back for a special session. And I always worry about that. We'll also have Senator Lauren Book at that, and County Vice Mayor Michael Udine. So it should be a great event, and that is on the 3rd Tuesday of June, June 15th. Okay.
Real quick, Cindy, if I can just jump in, and I'll mention it again during the legislative update, but you touched on something in the very beginning that I think is really important, and that I know that the chamber has done for years, and obviously couldn't do it this year because of COVID. But folks, if you're involved in this committee, I would ask that you take Cindy's guidance and urging, and get set up, right? Get set up to send emails to your elected officials, to watch the alerts, the legislative alerts. Session moves a million miles an hour. And a lot of times, if we haven't heard from our local community, listen, we'll do our best to reach out and say, hey, what do you guys think about this bill? Or what do you think about this issue? Or where does the chamber stand on this? If you have a position, right? But again, the session moves a million miles an hour, and I'm on 5 committees, and Rep. Hunschofsky's on 5 committees. And so we're constantly running. So we're not always able to communicate with everybody. So it's important that you let us know, hey, this is just coming up. So on the alerts and all that other stuff, please chime in. It makes all the difference in the world when we can point to that and say, listen, I can't be supportive of this bill, or I need to be supportive of this bill because my community is supportive of this bill, my business community back home. So it's really important. And I'll make one other plug. As we go into next legislative session, which I know is a crazy thought, but we'll actually start committee weeks probably in September, October of this year. But as session comes up, if you have not been to Tallahassee, come up, right? I'm sure, I know there are a number of groups, including the chamber, that come up to Tallahassee for legislative action days. Be a part of that trip. I know not everybody can do it because of their work schedules and whatnot, but if you can make it, make the time to go there and spend the time walking the halls and learning the process and spending the time building those relationships, because those relationships will pay dividends when you need somebody to vote a certain way or support a certain concept. So that's my plug for today. And I look forward to seeing you all at the legislative update. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, everybody.
If I could just add on really quickly to what Representative Daley was talking about, something I've done in my town hall meetings with District 96 is showing people how to become engaged, how to use the myfloridahouse.gov website in order to sign up to track bills, how to find bills that will affect what you're doing, and then how to reach out to your representatives, and not just the ones representing in this area, but throughout the state. That might be something as a legislative group that you would like to do. I'd be happy to help with that. But I think it's really important, the more we can empower people to become active and part of the process, that helps us as legislators, and it helps the communities we serve, and it helps the businesses and just everybody.
I thank you for that, because we will definitely take you up on that offer, because that is part of our goal for this year from our Government Relations Committee. So thank you. So thank you, everyone. I know that we can't solve the problems of the world in an hour, but I think we had some good discussion today. And I know this is a topic that the Chamber will continue to work on, and it's not something that's going to go away. So it's something that we're going to need a lot of smart people to continue to work on. So thank you all for being here. Thank you to our speakers, Representative Hunschofsky, Representative Daley, and Dr. Coyne. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you're all here and you were able to share this. Thank you. And we'll do something again soon.